Let's say you own a nice little business. Nothing crazy. You make, I don't know, rubber ducks. You're profitable. You've got 200 employees. You're not changing the world, but you pay your bills, your workers are decently happy, and your customers love you. Then one day, a private equity firm shows up. They tell you, hey, we love what you've built. We want to invest in your growth. We've got the money and the expertise to take you to the next level. 6 months later, half your employees are gone. Your supplier contracts got slashed. Your product quality dropped. Your prices went up. You're sitting on a mountain of debt. And guess what? You don't even own the business anymore. That's private equity. Now let's break down how the hell that actually works. Private equity is exactly what it sounds like. Equity that's private. Investments in companies that aren't traded on public stock markets. Instead of buying stocks you see on Robinhood, private equity firms invest in entire companies, or big chunks of them, behind closed doors, using private money from wealthy individuals, pension funds, insurance companies, endowments, and institutions. And when I say invest, I don't mean they're just writing checks and clapping from the sidelines. I mean they buy control. They take the driver's seat, they call the shots. And they almost always do it with one goal: flip it for more than they paid. Private equity is not about building long-term businesses, it's about acquisition, extraction, and exit. How do they buy companies? Enter the magic trick, the leveraged buyout, aka LBO. A leveraged buyout is when a private equity firm buys a company mostly using borrowed money, and then, plot twist, makes the company itself responsible for that debt. Think about that. Imagine I buy your house, but instead of me taking out the mortgage, I convince the house to take the loan. That's what a leveraged buyout is. Let's say a private equity firm wants to buy a company for $100 million. They might only use $10 million of their own cash. The other $90 million comes from bank loans, junk bonds, or other financing. Then they hand that debt to the company they just bought. Now the company, which was profitable and stable, suddenly owes $90 million. That debt isn't just sitting there. It comes with interest payments, loan covenants, cash flow requirements. That means every dollar the company makes now goes toward paying off the debt, not improving the product, not hiring, not innovating, just surviving. And the PE firm, they still only spent $10 million. So if they can somehow flip the company for, say, $150 million later, they just made 5x their money, even if the company's been gutted in the process. What do they do after they buy it? 3 words: cut, load, flip. Let's unpack that. First, they cut costs. This is where private equity gets its reputation for being corporate butchers. They fire employees, close underperforming locations, cancel employee benefits, outsource departments to cheaper contractors. Second, they load the company up with more debt. Yes, even after the original buyout. They'll sometimes do what's called a dividend recapitalization, which is a fancy way of saying they borrow more money in the company's name to pay themselves a dividend. It's like taking out a second mortgage on your friend's house and using the cash to buy yourself a Lambo, somehow legal. Finally, they try to flip the company. Once they've cut costs, increased cash flow, and boosted short-term profitability, even if it's all artificial, they try to sell the business to another company or take it public through an IPO. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But either way, they've already extracted their fees, dividends, and bonuses. Who are these people? Private equity firms are usually run by guys who used to be investment bankers or consultants. Think MBAs from Harvard and Wharton who learned how to model cash flows in their sleep and view employees as numbers on a spreadsheet. They work at private equity firms like Blackstone, KKR, Apollo, Carlyle, which all sound like failed Marvel villains. These firms manage trillions of dollars in assets, and they don't just buy failing companies. They buy anything that can be flipped. Grocery stores, nursing homes, emergency rooms, software companies, airports, prisons, apartment buildings, pet supply chains. There is almost no area of the economy that private equity hasn't touched. And the logic is the same every time. Can we buy it, cut it, squeeze it, and sell it before it implodes? But isn't this bad? It depends who you ask. If you're a pension fund manager who invested in private equity, and your portfolio delivered a 20% return, you're thrilled. If you're the CEO of a company who just got paid $10 million to hand the keys over to the PE firm, you're probably also thrilled. But if you're a worker who just got laid off because your department got outsourced to reduce overhead, or a customer whose favorite store chain just jacked up prices and started selling garbage products, or a community whose only local hospital was shut down after being stripped for parts, you're not so thrilled. Okay, but they must add some value, right? Yes, to be fair. There are times when private equity firms actually do improve companies. They bring in professional management, clean up inefficient operations, negotiate better deals, sometimes even help companies expand internationally or launch new products. There are success stories, like Hilton Hotels, Dunkin' Donuts, Beats by Dre. Sometimes they do help companies grow. But here's the catch. Whether they improve a company or not, they're still extracting fees the whole time. Which brings us to, how do they make money? There are two main ways private equity firms make money. Management fees. Usually 2% of the total money they manage, charged annually. This is the "we're taking care of your money" fee. Carried interest. They also take 20% of any profits above a certain threshold, usually around 8%. So if the firm flips a company and makes a big return, they keep a fat cut. And because of an ancient loophole known as the carried interest tax treatment, that 20% profit share is often taxed as a capital gain, at a lower rate than regular income. So yes, the average private equity partner is paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher, because this system is designed to reward money, not labor. What does this mean for the economy? Private equity is a symptom of late-stage capitalism. It's what happens when there's too much money chasing too little return, and when financial engineering becomes more profitable than building actual stuff. It creates a world where the default business strategy is buy it cheap, load it with debt, cut everything that costs money, sell it before it collapses, repeat. And that has ripple effects everywhere. It makes industries more fragile. It pushes companies to think short-term. It squeezes workers, customers, and communities. Also, a handful of investors can juice their IRR. So what do they actually do? Let's recap. Private equity firms raise billions from pensions, endowments, and rich people. Buy companies, mostly using borrowed money. Make the companies pay back the loans. Slash costs, boost short-term profits. Extract fees and dividends. Flip the company, cash out, and repeat. In theory, they make businesses better. In practice, they often just make themselves richer and everyone else poorer, angrier, or unemployed.